What's up, man? What's that?
What's up, Jeff? How are you doing? Can you hear me? Can you see
Yeah, I
me?
think we're good to go.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to get with me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. I do this a lot with a lot of different people, and I think people's followers find it interesting, and hopefully I'll end up asking you the same kind of stuff that they'd want to ask you themselves. So.
I'm ready. I'm an open book, man. Whatever you got.
Awesome. Well, the first thing I just got to start with is given the name of your page, and I've looked through your page and I saw you talking about your GPA and eligibility. What is your athletic experience? What'd you play in school? Did you play quarterback or did you just play football? Or
So it's funny. So I was always like the bigger kid growing up, right? So I always
right,
like defensive line, center,
right.
And then when I went to the seventh grade, I hit a growth spurt. I was always
Mhm.
athletic, but I became a little bit more athletic in the seventh grade. So I moved to quarterback. And then when I got into high school, there were three quarterbacks ahead of me. So I'm like, well, I can't sit here and like ride the bench for forever. So I actually moved, and I don't remember Cordell Store at the time, but they called them slot. So I played quarterback, running back, and receiver, however I could get on the field. So I actually moved to wide receiver my sophomore year in high school, and I stuck with that all the way through. I played like one backup game for JV in college at quarterback, but yeah, it's receiver is really my main position, but quarterback kind of is like the field general. So that's where
Awesome. Where'd you play in college?
I played at a small school in the Bronx called Fordham University. So
Cool. Well, I too was probably the biggest kid in my school when I was in like sixth and seventh grade. I ended up playing obviously all through high school, and I played for a couple of years. I redshirted at Western Kentucky, and then played. I'm actually living in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is a little ways south of Nashville right now, and I played at UTC for a year or so there. So
wow. What'd you
I
play?
guess we have that in common.
What position?
Kind of like yourself in high school and in middle school, I played basically everything in the box on defense. But I'm just under 5'10", so once I went to college, they pretty much stuck me at fullback, the short white guy position. So.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, man. So tell me how you got into real estate. I know so do you primarily, are you investing yourself, or are you primarily lending yourself, or what's your business model like?
I've done it all. So I started full time in residential mortgages in December of 2007. So
Okay.
That business was changing so much. It was so challenging.
Absolutely.
That's really all I could do. Really, I always did fix and flips on the side. We did hard money lending on the side. Did a lot of consulting on the side. But, when the market got rewritten and the rules changed with Dodd-Frank, it was constantly, like literally day by day, the guidelines for mortgage loans changing, which, didn't really allow me to do anything else full time. And I wound up getting out of the residential mortgage business originating in 2017. It became almost too easy to do mortgages. Everyone got back in the game. All the guys that got, their butt kicked in 07, 08, 9, 10 came back in because rates were super low, and they kind of flooded and oversaturated the marketplace. So I was, I'm not going to go out there and keep getting shopped left and right, keep losing deals to people who don't know the business, but they're going to sit and lie to people. So I kind of got out of that. I moved more towards like the brokerage and investment side of the game where you're dealing with professional investors, people who know what they're doing. Now, I love hand-holding the people that don't know anything, but they're a lot of work, and usually they want to pay. So it comes down to, well, like, you want to pick my brain, but you don't want to pay me, $500 or $1,000 or however much money, it takes per hour to get you to make $30 or $40 or $50,000 or even more, So kind of trying to still find my way. I'm big in, like, the education space as well,
Cool.
So I feel like that's really where the catalyst is going to be in educating people on the proper options, and I think that that's what's going to be, what gets us over the next hump or slowdown in the market over the next several years.
Yeah. It's interesting that you use the phrase pick your brain. I listened to, I don't know if you're familiar with the Bigger Pockets podcast,
Yeah.
but they're always talking about, when you go out and you're looking for a mentor or somebody to teach you, you're always supposed to, try to offer them value, not just take value from them. And one of the phrases that they tell you never to use is pick your brain. So that's just like the cliche thing that you say to people when it's just like, hey, I'm not going to do anything for you, but I want to spend some of your time. And since you're successful, I know you've got very little of it.
Yeah, I mean, I probably get 20 to 30 DMs a week, people I don't know on average. Hey, I just want to pick your brain. Hey, I have this question. Hey, I'm not going to use you. I'm like, well, you can't use me because I don't do residential anymore, but I need your advice. I'm like, well, I don't go to a doctor and ask for an x-ray and say, hey, by the way, I'm not going to use you to do my surgery, even if my whatever's broken, right?
Right.
So you know, it's unfortunate, but again, I think that the regulators and the industry and even the owners of certain mortgage companies and banks allowed too many people to get into the business. Same thing with real estate.
Right.
Again, it's just completely devalued the profession, devalued the brand, devalued the industry. And you know what? I realized, you know, at an early age, mortgages weren't going to be my be-all, end-all, even with real estate. Because, listen, when everyone's in, everyone's at the party, it's not really like exclusive or cool anymore. You know, I compete with the best of them knowledge-wise. I probably got more knowledge than really the majority of the people, even at, you know, being only 32 years old. But people want to be lied to. People don't want to hear the truth. And it's kind of like goes against everything I stand for. I'd rather give somebody a full, transparent approach and, you know, have them make their educated decision. But like I said, people don't have the experience, and they think they have the experience. How they usually wind up getting hurt.
Right. That's interesting because I got into real estate investment wholesaling, and I still wholesale a lot. But especially in Nashville, which I grew up in Nashville. So Nashville's a pretty hot city.
It's booming, right?
It is. I mean, it's a great town. It's fun. I love living there. But I ultimately moved to Chattanooga because the rental rates were so high that I'm starting to try to build my portfolio. And they just offer a better return. But in Nashville, you know, the wholesaling, really all of it, investing as well, has become so competitive, and people see wholesaling as such a get-rich-quick thing that people are just dumping into Nashville and they'll start these businesses. And ultimately, as a legitimate wholesaler or landlord or rehabber, you're making offers against people who don't know what they're doing and who are never going to back up their offer anyway. And so they're going to over-offer just to get it under contract. And then on top of that, there's also, you know, the mom and pop shop that have just watched HGTV for so long that they're just like, I can do it. I'll figure it out. And, you know, as an investor, I've had a lot of people try to sell me properties that they had got in too deep for. And it's just like, I can't make you an offer you can work with because from the beginning, you just really didn't know what you were doing. And you came in and you took a bite. You couldn't, you know, sometimes people from California, and it's just like the real estate's so expensive there that in Tennessee, they're like, holy shit, this has to be a deal. But it's, you know, it's all based on the market. So,
yeah, I mean, I think I see the problem. I can tell you that I know nothing about construction. I know what looks good. You know, I know if I walk on a floor and it's not even, right? I know like a bathroom and a kitchen, but I know business, and I can tell you that I've personally had deals where I thought I was going to make $80,000, $90,000 on a flip, and because I had to hold it for too long, or we didn't get the perfect time, or, you know, what would have been the third bedroom got, you know, knocked down, couldn't add the third bedroom, and I made $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, you know,
right,
while carrying a $2,000 to $3,000 a month mortgage because I had a hard money fix and flip loan on it. So, you know, a lot of people are chasing different markets right now. I got people all the time, again, know-it-alls, right, that got into business in 11, 12, 13. The market's gone straight up for the past 7, 8 years. So that they're, you know, savvy real estate investors making a killing. They got the perfect, you know, formula. And I'm like, well, you might be right. But unfortunately, 99% of people that got into the market in the past 5, 6, 7 years have made money because the market's gone straight up.
Right.
You know? And now people are like, oh, I want to go out of state. I want to buy in college towns. I want to do all these things. And I'm like, okay, great. So who's going to go fix the faucet in Florida when you're in New Jersey, you know, or who's going to go, you know, evict the tenant down there? Do you have lawyers down there? Do you have contractors down there? And they don't. Right. And that's where I think that the problem is going to come in. I don't think the market is in trouble. I think individuals are in trouble because they're taking unnecessary risk, you know. So I live in North Jersey. I live in Jersey City. I can literally see, you know, you can see, I can literally see New York City right here from my window, right? That's the World Trade Center right there. You can literally see it. I could probably throw a football 10 times and get there. But I have a property in the South Bronx that's 15 minutes away, right? But I have to go over a bridge, go through a tunnel. You know, it takes me 45 minutes to an hour during traffic to get there. And it's a pain in the balls to manage. And I'm like, you want to go buy a property 1,000 miles away. Okay, if the property manager isn't going to rob you, you're going to lose money somehow, you know?
Right.
And that's the thing. People just think it's so easy when it's really not. It's really not that, you know?
Yeah, my kind of how I got into it a little bit was my dad framed houses when I was young. He does small remodel jobs now. When I first got out of school, I basically worked for him for like $20 an hour, kind of messing with that stuff. And one thing I learned that you know, it's almost made me a little more gun shy than I should be is that something's going to go wrong. You know, there's going to be a cost you don't see. The more you cut into a house, the more something fucked up's going to happen. And on top of that, I mean, you know, the reality is, like you said, I mean, especially right now when there's so much business to be had, and contractors are so busy, the building costs are high. And on top of that, you know, that contractor's not going to come over to fix your sink. He's not going to come over to fix the plumbing because he's got a remodel that he's in the middle of. So do you know a legitimate handyman that's going to come over and fix that stuff in a short amount of time? Because like you said, man, if you care about people, I care about minutes. I manage them myself. So I get stressed out, and I need to be better about it because I'm in this business for a while. But, you know, I get emotionally involved in, like, you know, if I go on vacation, you know, a couple of years ago I was in Denver, and just on the 2nd of January, had a tenant reach out to me and tell me their HVAC had stopped blowing hot air in Tennessee. And it was just like, you know, like at the time I was like, I don't even know an HVAC guy. You know?
I was on the store for Memorial Day week. I get a text from my tenant. So I own Unit 6 and Unit 7 in a condo building, but they're next door to each other. And eventually I'm going to blow the walls out and make like a sick, you know, penthouse, if you will, down, right, when the market calls for it. And I get a text, hey, man, the AC is not working. So I text my guy that I always use. Doesn't reply. So I send the tenant the number, and he replies back like, oh, fuck me once, shame on, you know, me, whatever. And I'm like, wait, what? He's like, you never paid me last year. I'm like, wait, what? I go, you never sent me an invoice. And what, you know, you came out literally to click the AC on. Like, I asked you how much I owed you. You told me don't worry about it. I'm calling you back for the 5th time. I've known you for 2 years, and you tell my tenant I didn't pay you. But wait, what? Meanwhile, I left you a voicemail, left you a text message. You never sent me an invoice. Like, what do I owe you? I'll send you the money right now. You know what I mean? And it's just like people in that type of business, like, they're so hard to rely on. And I can tell you for a fact, I did a loan for a big group up here, hard money loan last year. I did a blanket mortgage for about $975,000 across a 6-family and a 2-family gut renovation. And I put them in a 1-year term at a great deal. And they're now 15 months into the project. Yeah. So there's extension fees, like there's months past, and these are guys with a ton of deals. But to make it even better, they partnered with a contractor who they gave 7 deals to, and he hasn't finished one of the 7 projects in over 12 months now. So like, these are guys that, like, hey, we purposely brought this guy in, gave him equity, he's our contractor, and he didn't even do the job right. Yeah. You know? And these are guys that have done, again, hundreds and hundreds of projects, but the contractor bid off more than he could chew, and now they have to fire him, who's an equity partner, and bring on another contractor, but they've just paid, you know, $90,000+ in interest in 12 months, and now they have another, you know, 4.5% on that they're paying as well. So listen, something's always going to go wrong, and part of it's execution, but part of it's taking on too many projects with, you know, not enough good help, you know. Yeah. And again, I harp on, these are experienced people. So 3 years ago, you can get stuck with a project that you thought was going to take 12 months, now be 15, 18. The market was going up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9%. You're covered. But now that the market's slowed down, and now your project's run overboard, this is where the losses start to amount. Yeah.
I think you said a second ago that you know, it's not about the market itself being in trouble. It's that people tend to take on more than they can. Something I had somebody else tell me one time was that, you know, the rules of the economy never change. You know, economics is a study of cause and effect. It's not that you know, the economy goes up and down always, but it goes up and down because human beings are ultimately so greedy that when things are great, that as a group, we cannot control ourselves. And while the intelligent person, you know, hedges their bets or just recognizes that when we're up here like we are right now, that it's you gotta have multiple exit strategies at the very least. Sure. But it's our own greed that causes it to go back down, and the wealthier get wealthy again. You know, it's just
go look at my my story for Instagram. So I have this group that reached out to me last year. I think as like this time last year, as a company, they'd only done 200 only. They did about in Manhattan $250 million in the existence of their company. Right, this time last year. Now they're doing about 20 to 30 million a month. Right, so they're growing pretty large. So the CFO emailed me today and is like, hey, we want to buy $200 million per month in non-QM mortgages. So I replied back to him. I'm like, well, if you're looking for a guy that maybe spearhead that, I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. I know all the bankers. I know all the originators. I have a pretty strong hold over that market. I'm like, but 200 million a month, question mark? Like, you want to grow like 12 to 15 times the size in a year? Like, do you have the staff for that? Like, do you even know what a good non-QM loan is? Like, do you even know what non-QM means? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, those are garbage loans. I don't care what anybody says. Like, those are going to be problems down the road. Like, I don't care if you're putting 25, 30, 40% down. Like, if you have no income, eventually it's going to catch up with you.
Right.
And it's just, but it comes down to greed, right? Literally comes down to greed. It's like, oh, well, Mike made $1 million doing this. I want to make $2 million doing this. Oh, if he made $50 million in loans last month, I want $200 million in loans this month. And I'm like, yeah, you guys are all chasing the wrong thing, man. Chasing the wrong thing, And that's where the problem comes in, because now people loosen up lending guidelines, people become more aggressive, and it's really just a race to the bottom of profit margin, and then no one makes money,
Right.
That's why I've really taken a back seat really for the past 6 to 12 months to really see what shakes out, because when you're involved every single day and doing what you do, you get caught up in that rat race, caught up in chasing what everyone else is chasing. When you actually remove yourself, now you're looking at it from a different perspective, and you just see like the market's completely desperate right now.
For sure. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So you mentioned, not to change the subject too quickly, but you mentioned you do a lot of education. Do you do a lot of speaking at like workshops and stuff? I mean, I looked over your page. I know you have a book as well.
Yep. Yeah. I do a lot of workshops, seminars, a lot of charity work, foundation work. I like speaking at like high schools and colleges because, I feel like I do have an influence over the younger generation, especially based on my experience. And I tell them how it is. I'm not giving them a hope and a dream, and I'm not telling them something that could potentially hurt them. If anything, it just helps them or gets them excited, right? Looking at things from a different perspective. I do truly enjoy that. The thing is, unfortunately, like we spoke about earlier, a lot of people want to be lied to. A lot of people want the fluff.
Absolutely.
Right? People are like, hey, pay me $500 for a seminar, and I'm going to help you make $1 million. Meanwhile, like they made $1 million.
Right.
So it's like, well, how are you going to teach someone how to do something that you've never done?
Right.
And that's where my conflict comes in, because again, in order to play in that sandbox, if you will, you kind of have to be that like sales guy fluff, and I am the opposite of that. I can sell salt to a slug if I have to, but that's not who I want to be.
Right.
It's just, and that's why like I lost more mortgage business than I did. I closed probably about $450 million in residential mortgages before the age of 30. Which is a pretty big number. But I was never that sales guy. I was that relationship guy that got things done. And I think that's why like the education part of it is so key, is because if you educate somebody properly, they're going to be the one to come back to you because you did the right thing by them.
For sure. To that point, the book that I wrote, and it's the name of my Instagram tag, it's a reference to the fact that real estate is not a get rich quick scheme, but it is a get rich scheme. And the book itself is about wholesaling, but using wholesaling as a way to learn your market, learn the business itself, and put some money in your pocket over time while you work up to being in a position to transition into builds and developments and rehabs, and also learning what a good rental is, and therefore putting your income back in it. So the book itself, and most of the time when I make little videos or whatever it is, I'm big on hard work and the long game. And ultimately, it's a cliche, but anything that comes easy usually doesn't last. And that goes towards business or relationships or, help sports. Some of the most gifted athletes, they don't last. Why? Because they came to them easy, and you don't get anywhere in sports without falling in love with the process. And that's true about anything else. So I definitely resonate with that.
So I don't know if you saw what happened, but I broke my ankle last August, right?
Okay.
Rounding first base on a turf softball field. It was like the semifinals. I tried legging out 2, and I would have had it, but there was a 6-foot ripped seam in the turf going into second base. So when I went to go slide, my 2 front cleats got caught in the turf, and my ankle snapped immediately. Literally, like I felt it, I heard it, went down. Normally, like I would try and have gone for second base. It broke so bad that I didn't even extend my arm to go to second base. That's how bad it was, right? So again, playing sports my whole life, training my whole life, having some of the top trainers. Two of my trainers that trained me in college are NFL trainers right now, strength and conditioning. So I was with guys that made it pretty big, and I never focused on foundation, right? And it's interesting to go through all that, and I attribute that to both foundation and balance, where because I broke my ankle so bad, the only thing I've been doing now, really for the past 4, 5, 6 months of rehab and everything, are balance work, stability work, and really focus on your foundation. So again, when you spiritually put that into any aspect of life, like you need to build yourself up from the ground up. You can't just be top heavy, because if you're top heavy, you're going to fall right over. And unfortunately, that's what the real estate and mortgage world is. It's so top heavy that when the wind bursts, the market slows down, everything collapses right away because the proper foundations, more often than not, really weren't set. So like before, my foundation, my legs have never been more balanced, more strong in my life, and I've only been working on it for 5 months. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those are like the little things. It's not fun doing it. It's not easy doing it, but it's built me that foundation now to rebuild what I need to build on the scale.
Right. Well, awesome, man. Where can people find you? Is it best that they just go to your Instagram page, or where do you like to do business out of?
Usually best. That's where I put most of the content out. That's where I kind of flood everybody with my thoughts, feelings, facts, all that stuff. The book is on Amazon. It's the Mortgage Playbook for Millennials. And I self-published it. I really just wanted to get it out there. Say, hey, I wrote my own book. I published it myself. Again, it's not the best book out there written because again, stuff is time, but it's a stepping stone to the next one. So
absolutely,
put a ton of tips in there. Again, if you know nothing about real estate, you definitely learn something from it. One of the best chapters is how to value real estate, where we actually got our appraisal management company to tell us how to find the right comps, what appraisers look for, and really truly how to value an asset, which I think, again, is invaluable. If you don't have value something, if the deal can be made or not.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time, man, and I hope to do it again soon. And keep doing your thing, man. You're doing great.